Don K. Kennedy is an author, attorney, business consultant, and the CEO of Convoy Road Coffee Roasters, LLC. It is a successful startup that grew from $121 in sales in January 2021 to over $17,000 a month 10 months later. So she did that in a 10-month span to be able to consistently get to that point. Now, Dawn has an extensive background in program management and has been in entrepreneurship since 2011, not yesterday, but 2011. So she has worked with both government and private sectors, businesses across industries for over 10 years. Dawn hosts the Profit Accelerator podcast, which I can say I have downloaded that. So I'm plugged in, I'm listening, and it's available to you on your favorite podcast platforms, and is the author of the Profit Accelerator for Small Businesses, a #2 bestseller in business consulting on Amazon. I'm so glad that you all are here so that you can listen to Dawn, because she is going to be giving us all the tea when it comes to these business strategies. As everyone says, we either in a recession, getting ready to go into a recession, or just got over a recession. And so she's going to talk to us a little bit about that, her skills and her expertise. And so this is our second session of the Millennium Business Summit. If you have any questions, by all means, drop them in the chat. I'm watching, so I'll be able to kind of add those into the conversation. If you have any feedback for us, we would love to hear it. And drop your biggest ahas or your takeaways down below in the comments. You can also post this on social media if you want to kind of share the word that way by using hashtag MBS. And this is Day 1, the second session of the Millennial Business Summit. Up above in the description, you'll have the link so you can get her freebie, as well as all the other bonuses that are available to you. And Dawn, the floor is yours. Take it away. What have you to take?
Thank you so much. So I'm going to share my screen because I have a business background with the government, meaning it's death by PowerPoint. I'm just kidding. It's not death by PowerPoint, but I brought some PowerPoint. So thank you so much for inviting me on here and giving me this opportunity to share strategies for thriving in your business, no matter the economy. And I hope everyone brought their favorite beverage and you've got a pen, maybe a notebook. We're going to dive in. And if you have any questions, I have plenty of space at the back end for that. So welcome to the Millennial Business Summit. I am the second presenter, so there's a few more behind me. I'm excited for the next one on financial literacy. We're just going to dive in. We're going to cover a couple of things here. So again, with the recession or coming out or going in, we're going to be talking about how to keep your clients buying and some buy now strategies to help them make decisions without slashing your prices and without cutting into your profits. We're going to teach a very simple 3-step pricing formula that I use that can price any product or service to make sure you're not losing money. We're going to talk about cash flow and then the need for planning and why planning is more important now than it has been in the past for the confidence of your buyers. So we are going to be talking, and you are in the right place. If you have a business that thrives in any economy, you want to ensure your pricing is right. You want to protect your cash flow and your finances. And you do want to get your buyers to keep buying and to become your raving fans. So who am I to even talk to you about this? So actually, Monica gave me an amazing introduction. I am the author of the Profit Accelerator for Small Business. I am a podcast host. I do run Convoy Road Coffee Roasters. I have been a business consultant. And yes, I've been in the entrepreneur space now 12 years, believe it or not. So Convoy Road Coffee Roasters, by the way, did start in just 2021. It is a newer company, but we have grown very quickly. And some of the strategies I'm sharing, I will also share how we're doing this in our own business right now. Year over year, our revenue in Q1 is up 41%. And those are the numbers that just came in. Thank you. So we are doing exactly what I'm going to be teaching you today. And here's the thing, it's not cookie cutter. Your business won't look exactly like my business, but these strategies are ones that you can use and adapt for your own client base or customer base. So whether you have a product-based business or a service-based business, these are the strategies that we're using. So keys for a thriving business in this economy. Number one is understanding that buyer. Buyers are taking longer to make those buy decisions. We're going to talk about some strategies there. Making sure you have the correct pricing. And I'm even going to tell you about some really cool things that are happening for you as a business owner right now in this economy. Protecting that cash flow, of course, and then making sure you have that flexible growth plan. We'll talk a little bit about that. So understanding your buyer. Many consumers right now are feeling a pinch in their disposable income, and maybe they are a little bit worried. Now, a lot of businesses are scaling back on expenses. Unfortunately, one of the first things that get cut is like marketing budget, which leaves you from not being top of mind, right? Inside your consumer's mind, inside your buyer's mind. And the decision to buy is actually taking a little bit longer. One of the key things that I'm seeing, and I'm seeing this in marketing quite a bit, is people are scaling back because they need to see that positive return on investment, that ROI. So they want to know, if I spend 2 marketing dollars, am I making back 5, right? So the way that we're communicating right now in the marketplace has to be talking about this ROI and its positive impact before we could get away with a little bit more of like the intangible value. We still want to talk about that, but we are going to have to quantify a little bit what those real dollar returns are to your clients. So here are some strategies for those create buy now decisions. I am not one who likes to do a lot of discounting. I don't do it in the coffee business. I don't do it in the strategy business. And the reason is because a lot of times people are discounting to try to drive sales when they're actually lowering their value in the marketplace. So I am somebody who likes bonuses and not discounts. So right now, anywhere that you can bonus can really help that buyer, make that buy now decision. So if they were going to wait for a little bit longer and you say, well, listen, there's this bonus if you do it within X amount of time, not false scarcity, but just a bonus opportunity to help them make that decision. That does not cut into your profits, and that does not cut into your overall revenues, right? So we want to bonus and not discount. We want to describe the value and, if it's appropriate, the affordability in your marketing. All right. Price also. So now people are price shopping on those websites a lot more than they used to be. Used to be book a discovery call and then we'll discuss pricing. No, people want to either opt themselves in or opt themselves out of your pricing before they get on the call. They don't want to get on a call and feel like, I wasn't expecting that amount. They want to know what they're in for. So now it's very important to talk about that price up front, and very affordable if that is part of the strategy that you can use. And again, that positive return on investment and why they should do that. One of the biggest things is this consistency and stability in the marketplace. There are a lot of businesses that close down during recessions. We just know that happens. There are a lot of businesses that struggle. They cut back services. They cut back offers. One of the things that actually in our own small community is we have 2 specialty retail stores that will be closing. And they're closing for different reasons. They didn't say that they were having any financial issues, but the thing is at least as a business strategist, if you were really being profitable and successful, we would hire somebody to run that store for you so you would still continue to make that revenue. So I don't know for sure all the reasons behind it, but because of this, the consistency and stability of that business it's going to make other people question a new retail store popping up in that location, whether or not they're going to be there in a year. So consistency and stability in the marketplace requires you to always be front and present in the mind of your buyer, that you are consistent, you are stable, you're going to be there, you're going to be continue serving, which is why I don't recommend cutting that marketing budget first. That's where people see the expense and they go, oh, I don't know. We just need, to tweak our marketing. Maybe we need to tweak our message a little bit to talk about price, talk about value in a little bit more of a dollar conscious way, talking about that firm return on investment and being consistent and stable. It'll increase your trust factor. Right now, it used to take 7 to 15 touch points for someone to make a buy decision. They are now saying it's 22 touch points from the time someone becomes aware of you to that first purchase. Meaning, do you have a strategy for 22 touch points? Not just posting 22 times on social media. Do you have a, touch point in an email? Do you have a freebie? Do you have these things? What are your touch points where somebody can learn? And I'm not a no like trust, like verbiage person. I'm a touch point person where you're moving them through that trust. And again, that stability and that confidence. I'm going to tell you that I had an incident not that long ago where somebody was moving through and we were talking and I invited them to be on a podcast interview, and they actually rescheduled it at the last minute and said, I needed to protect my energy. Maybe 2 years ago, protecting your energy would have been a good reason for a last minute thing. I think nowadays in this environment, that's going to be harder to do. So that awareness, that exposure, that moving through, that consistency, that stability, those intangible benefits, those results, and making sure that you show up when you say you're going to show up. Like if you say you're going to do an Instagram live and you don't go live because you just decided not to for whatever reason, that actually is going to have, I think, a bigger effect on the buyer in this market than it would have 6 months or a year ago. So just keeping in mind that right now that stability and consistency is huge. And then creatively supporting your customers where they are. So I actually have a digital marketer that I have worked with in the past, and she said, Dawn, they're cutting their marketing budget, which is why I know this is a real thing. And they're no longer hiring them to do all the social media management and all the posts. And so what we came up with is a do-it-yourself. So she's actually selling 3 months of support by doing their branded templates and things, but she's not doing their copy. She's not scheduling their postings. So she was able to actually sell them a 3-month package for the cost of what they were comfortable with rather than their ongoing social media management fees. Now, the cool thing is what do you think is going to happen when things turn around? They're going to hire her back. She didn't lose a customer. She didn't get upset about it. We just pivoted a little bit and said, if this is where your customers are, this is how we support them right now. And it does look really good for her because she does keep those client books up. And by the way, this strategy she's now selling to new customers who never had engaged her before for full social media support because they're buying these templates and this opportunity to work with her just based on this do-it-yourself package. All right, so here are some things that we don't talk about. Some benefits to you if the economy isn't doing what you want it to do. There are benefits to the business owner. One of them is you have an opportunity now to stand out and have an enhanced customer experience, to create that loyal customer base. If you're the one who's continuing to stay front of mind and continuing to be consistent and you're building that reputation, you now also can take steps to enhance that customer experience that people are going to be looking for. You might be able to tweak things to get them in your world, and really they'll become loyal. You also can see lower and more competitive pricing for the things that you buy. I saw this the other day where there was like this pop-up ad that showed up on Facebook where it was like Calendly is $144 a year. And then there's this new company pops up and they said it's $27 a year. If you are price shopping as a business owner yourself for your own goods and services, then you may see lower and more competitive pricing from the places you buy from. That can actually be a benefit to you as a business owner and allow you to save money on expenses. And then here's the third thing is this is the time and the opportunity to expand into new or different markets, because people are not going to stay in business if they're just doing it the way they always have. So if you are the person who can be open-minded, pivot, look for new opportunities and things, you will have that opportunity to expand. And again, because you're going to be the one that's staying top of mind, you're going to be consistent, you're going to be stable, you're going to understand your buyer, you understand it's taking longer to make decisions, and you're going to tailor your messages to make them repeat buyers. So there are real benefits all the way around for you and your business, including even lower price services for you. All right, so let's talk about pricing for profitability. Pricing is something that is interesting because some people are price shopping as far as like dollars go, but a lot of business owners, I see them pricing so that they can show a discount to get the buyers in right now. They think that the only way they can get people is by cutting into their profitability. So if you have a 20% margin and you give a 20% discount, you're not making any money. It's hard to be in business if you're not making money. So here are some questions for you. How are you pricing now? So I work with a lot of product businesses, and a lot of times they'll say, well, my wholesale price was X, and so I 2 times my wholesale price, or 2.5 to my wholesale price, or, well, I normally charge X amount an hour, and so I just doubled my labor rate or did 3 times or whatever. But really, what are all of your actual costs? Are you including them? I worked with a soapery a few years ago that didn't include the labels that she was required to have with the ingredients and things on there. And, 2 cents a label, 5 cents a label doesn't seem like much until you sell 1,000 products. Now you're losing money. So do you include all of your actual costs? Are you including everything? Now, here's the other thing. What does it cost you just to open the door every morning? I mean, you have electric, you have internet, you have phone. Do you consider your overhead, or are you just doubling your hourly labor cost, or your thing, right? What about the cost to actually be open? And then do you add a profit margin? So this is where I have to jump in really quick and say profit is a great thing, not a bad thing. It doesn't make you greedy. It doesn't make you awful. If you have a good profit margin built in, you build in the room to be able to afford to hire people and create job opportunities, to give back in your community, to make donations that are important to you. You have to have that profitability in there so you can reinvest back into your business. So pricing does need to include this overhead fixed cost. It does have to have all of the actual costs for your raw materials, or even your, what I call sunk time. If you create a course or something, you might think it didn't cost me anything. Yes, it did. It cost you time. It cost you valuable time. And there's a sunk cost to that. If it took you 6 hours, it might be $300 or $400 raw course. So you need to price it to make that money back. All your incidentals, like your packaging and labels, your time to produce or sell the item, and then your profit. But I'm going to give you the 3 steps. This is step 1, is your overhead. I see this missed more often than not. People forget to include their overhead inside their pricing, especially if you don't have a product, but you have a service. People don't remember to include their monthly internet costs in every single item that they sell, right? So if your internet cost is $70 a month and you sell 70 hours of work, $1 of that work has to be for your overhead. It costs you money.
That is a good one. And what it also made me think of, because we just got finished up with Michelle Anika, from a photography standpoint. So even you're driving to get to this appointment to take these images or take these pictures, then that's an overhead. That's a cost. That's an expense that goes into it. Or the courses that you sign up, or the classes that you sign up so that you can get better in perfecting your craft. That's all part of your overhead, would you say?
Yes, absolutely. And in fact, I'm going to give you the 4 walls, and I'll show you what all is included. What I did want to point out is you can divide this number that we're going to get to by the hours that you're open. So I have seen businesses where it's $7 an hour to be open because they don't have a lot of overhead. And I've seen businesses that are $400 an hour to be open. They're a machine shop with a lot of equipment use expenses. And the thing is we can figure out what that hourly cost is. And if that hourly cost is not currently figured in your pricing, because you're thinking, well, I charge $85 an hour. Okay, that's your labor. That's not your costs and your labor. So here's what I talk about when I talk about your overhead, or your first 4 walls of business. Your breakthrough number is what I named it. I didn't have a fancier name at the time, but you have 4 walls to protect inside your business. And we'll talk about this a little later on with cash flow. Sometimes we have to prioritize expenses as cash flow needs come in. And so these are the things that you also want to know so that you can prioritize them as things that you're buying. If you break this down into these 4 things, specifically, you can also look and see if you're bleeding somewhere. So wall 3, product spend and inventory, I see this a lot where people overbuy inventory and it sits before it turns, and that's cash tied up. But if you don't break it out this way and it's on your financials as just cost of goods, how do we know what we're spending on that particular line item? So this actually breaks it down better than a P&L. So access to buyers, this is what I call your basic, like, fixed expenses, your rent, your phone, your internet. The reason I call it access to buyers is because that just kind of turns in the minds of entrepreneurs maybe a little easier. If you have the most gorgeous website on the planet, but nobody can access it because you didn't pay the internet bill, you do not have access for people to buy from you. If you have the most gorgeous boutique on the planet and you have the most amazing clothing, but your landlord has locked you for non-payment of rent, you don't have access to your buyers. So the fact is that access to buyers, keeping that revenue gate open is the most important thing. So your phone, your rent, your internet, your utilities. I've worked with some restaurants, got to have water, got to have electric, got to have those things. Internet, if you're taking payments online, you have to have that. Then wall two is your critical operating expenses. So to your point, a photographer has to drive somewhere. That's a critical operating expense. If they forget to put gas in the car, they're not going to be able to operate that day. So critical operating expenses can include things like software subscriptions, right? You're a graphic designer, you need to have Adobe, Canva, maybe Photoshop. Those are things that you need to have. And it can range depending on the business and depending on your industry. I have a really good friend of mine who is a private investigator. She's required by law in the state where she's licensed to have a particular LexisNexis database. That's a critical operating expense. She cannot do her job without it. So critical operating expenses are the second one. Third one is this product spend and inventory. So if you're somebody who has products and inventory every month, whether it's raw materials or not, we have to budget something for that so that you can turn it into the money you need to cover your other expenses. Wall three can get a little dicey. Sometimes it takes a little trial and error to figure out, do I need to have a budget of $1,000 in there a month? Do I need to have a budget of $600 in there a month? And we look at things like, what is your top seller? What is your top profitable item? What is your volume seller? So those kinds of questions, but that's your third wall. And then the fourth wall, don't at me, is your payroll and your payroll expenses. Here's why. I see entrepreneurs take whatever's left over at the end of the month. They do not plan for their paycheck. They do not plan to pay their taxes. They just take that draw at the end of the month and all the cash is now gone out of the business. And then something happens. They want to grow. They want to hire. They want to get a VA. And the truth is that the money isn't there. Like, you can only spend it once. So I always encourage everyone to put themselves on payroll, even if it's just on paper, and have their payroll expenses in there. The cool thing about this number is once you figure it out, you can rerun this number in different scenarios. So what if I cut expenses in wall two, but I hired somebody in wall four? You could run this number and go, that's how much more revenue I need to make. Oh, that's how much more revenue. I only need to make so many more sales and then I can afford that VA or I can afford that new employee. So the breakthrough number, these four walls are the critical things in your business. And again, everybody, if you are somebody taking the leftovers, let's not take the leftovers. Let's make a plan. And if that plan is, let's say, $2,000 a month, then that'll be your first revenue goal that you're paying yourself that $2,000 a month. But before that, you're actually not that profitable because you're just eating the leftovers.
So let me ask a quick question. When you're developing and figuring these numbers out, and if I'm moving too fast, you just let me know, okay? When you're developing and figuring out what these numbers are, you know what your internet bill is going to be. That's a fixed cost pretty much, right?
Right.
Are we saying, okay, the internet is $50 a month for 12 months. So am I adding up 12 months worth of expenses when I'm doing this? Or am I saying this month? Or what time frame am I quantifying this for?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, and I probably should have been clear on that. This is your monthly expenses. So this is your first revenue target for monthly expenses. If you have annual expenses and things like that, I actually treat that a little different way because it's actually easier to make 1/12 of a deposit in a holding account and have that cash available for those annual expenses instead of having a hit to the budget in the month that they're due. So this is your monthly kind of budget, your monthly expenses. This is the revenue target that you want to make sure that you're covering what you need to stay open and in business. Because if you see what's not in here, debt expenses aren't in here. Marketing is not in here. See, this is the minimum that you need to continue generating revenue, the engine in your car that you need to have. If you don't pay yourself and you pay your Visa bill, some months cash is tight, we'll get into cash flow, but they don't care if you don't eat or have a hot shower. But you know what? You care because then you can't show up and serve and you can't open the door. I mean, if you haven't slept for 3 days and you have no heat in your home or whatever, and you know, a lot of times when we start businesses, it's not to that extent, but it's this idea that you give yourself these targets and you know what your revenues are. This actually then builds into a sales strategy. If you know that your minimum revenue a month to stay open, keep the engine running is going to be, you know, $4,000. If you're open 5 days, you need to generate $200 a day. So you can actually work this back into a great sales strategy that allows you to make sure that you're going to hit those revenue goals to keep the engine running. So this right here is your overhead cost. And you would do this for a month and we would divide this up by like your week. Let's see if I have it on here. No. Okay. So I might have taken that slide out because it seemed like I was getting a little weedy in the numbers. If you get my freebie pricing for profit, actually will walk you through this and then it'll also help you break it down. So for example, if I need to make $4,000 a month, I divide that by 4, it's $1,000 a week. So that $1,000 a week can then be further broken down into the number of days I'm open. So let's say I'm open 5 days a week, it's $200 a day. Let's say I'm open 10 hours a day, right? I just work 10 hours. My overhead cost to cover all these things is $20 an hour. Are you including that in your pricing? Or are you not including that in your pricing? Because that is the number to stay open. That is the number to keep showing up every day and keep the lights on. So let me walk this through with you on the financials and the cash flow. But what you'll do is you'll do the overhead, you do the actual cost, and then you can add that profit margin and you will be profitable and you will have money left over from every sale. But the cash flow and the financials here, I listen to Sir Richard Branson. I just think he's amazing. He talks about cash flow being the lifeblood of your business. And one of the things about being a thriving business in any economy is preserving as much cash as you can. One of the biggest struggles that businesses face is cash flow, not revenue, cash flow. So what's the difference? Cash flow is about timing. So you can have the sales, but Stripe might hold it for 3 days. And in the 3 days before it hits your bank account, you might have something due. So if you have everything like on auto pay or whatever, somebody goes into your account, starts taking money out, you're not in control of your cash. So it's the difference between when the timing of the revenue is received and the time that the cash is available to spend. That is cash flow. And this is where sometimes business owners get hung up a little bit. And I'm going to tell you one of the reasons that business owners get hung up is because they honestly believe, well, I'm in business now, so I should know how to do all these things. I should automatically be able to pay my bills on time. And if I'm not, then I might be a bad business owner. And the truth is that sometimes, you know, you get a sale on a Saturday, you're not going to get that money till Monday. The calendar might say a bill is due, but you don't have the cash available. So let's talk about some ways to deal with that. What do you currently have on autopay? Who currently has access to your business bank account? All of your banking or all of your revenue streams should point to the same business bank account. So your PayPal, your Square, your Stripe, your merchant's account, whatever it is that you have where you take money in, all needs to point to the same place. It has been conventional wisdom over the last few years. Put it all on auto pay. You'll never be late. Set it and forget it. That's what people do. Now, manually, though, there are a lot of bills you can pay. Your debt payments are often manual. You don't have to put them on auto pay, even to save that 0.25%. You can pay your utility bills, often manually. You can pay a lot of things like your business phone bill manually. You do not have to give them auto pay, even if it is a savings of $2 a month. And I've seen that recently with like, if you sign up for auto pay, you'll save $2. Okay, for $24 a year, I don't want you going in my account. I will pay the $24 so that I control who gets paid, how much, and when. And this gets down to the next thing. Who can accept a partial payment from you? See, business owners don't necessarily want to know or want to say, okay, I'm going to pay half the electric bill this Friday and half next Friday, because that's the best way for me to get it done based on our cash flow and timing and when bills come in and when things are due. Who actually can get paid 3 days late without an additional fee? And, you know, I've seen this happen over and over again where people are like, well, I don't know what to do. Do I allow them to shut off my service, or do I pay a bounce check fee? I've had this happen with a restaurant where there was a huge mix up with the water bill. And instead of charging them monthly, they charged them quarterly. Huge bill came in. They threatened to turn off the water. Well, if you've ever gone to a restaurant, you know that without water, you can't be open. And as I talked about in the beginning, if you're not open, you can't generate revenue. So I ended up advising him to write the check to the bank, take the $37 fee, stay open, and keep generating the revenue on that day. So these kinds of questions are ones that I don't think we talk about enough, because there is also this idea that, well, we should just know, right? Successful businesses can always pay their bills on time, right? Okay, unless you get a chargeback, unless something happens where someone gets a refund. In case a check bounces, I've had a check bounce before that someone paid me, I put it in the account and it bounced, and then what happens to my account? So again, the cash flow is about the timing. The revenue is a completely different thing. Here's another strategy. Can you create 2 bill pay days? Are you able to organize your expenses so that you pay your bills on like the 5th and the 21st? Can you pay your bills on the 3rd and the 18th? Are you able to arrange things so that you would manually pay your bill on those 2 days and allow the cash to build up in those accounts between those days? So in our business, I pay the bills typically the 5th and the 23rd. I have to pay payroll weekly in the coffee business because actually the industry standard in our area, we have a lot of manufacturing and stuff, is people expect to be paid every single week. So when we were hiring for our business, asking people if they would get paid twice a month or every 2 weeks was actually not going to work. We wouldn't be able to have the employees because they were used to the every week cycle. So that's paid every week. We pay payroll. But my bill pay days, when do I sit down and I pay for maybe event fees for the next month? When do I pay for those things? I try to do it twice a month. And then my last question to you is, are you losing cash somewhere along the way? Do you do miscellaneous? Do you do petty cash? Is something going through? Are you just swiping that Netflix bill out of the business account and reimbursing it later, right? Did you have an oopsie and have to pay the car insurance really quick because you didn't pay yourself a paycheck and you're going to take it Friday anyway? And did you pay your car insurance personally? And then all of a sudden you're looking at the business account and you're like, where'd my money go? Because you were paying personal bills out of there. I always recommend that people keep business and personal violently separate. If you need to pay a personal bill, write yourself a check from your business account or make yourself a draw into your personal account and pay your personal bills. This way here, the cash won't run off and spend itself, and you won't have the same cash flow issues. If you're able to organize things to pay twice a month, you can build up that cash between those 2 paydays. And, if you are priced correctly, you shouldn't have 100% of the money coming in, 100% of the money going out, because we're building in the profit margin and we're covering that overhead in our pricing. So knowing that breakthrough number, that revenue target definitely can help with cash flow, because then you know what you need to generate in revenue. Again, remembering that it could be a timing thing. If you have a monthly recurring revenue that happens on different days, like maybe you get a deposit on the 2nd, you get a deposit on the 5th, a deposit on the 7th, a deposit on the 11th, knowing when those things are timed, if you can arrange your expenses around that, it actually does help with having cash on hand in case something does happen, like my printer broke and I had to run out and get another printer. So in order to run out and get the other printer, I was able to do so because I had put some cash in between those days. Being prepared to prioritize the expenses that support the business remaining open is the other strategy. So those breakthrough number expenses, making sure that you're prioritizing and making sure you know who can accept a partial payment. There is no shame in picking up the phone and saying, hey, listen, this is going to be 3 days late. It just is right now. The cash isn't in the bank. Not a big deal. It doesn't make you a bad business owner. It doesn't mean that you're not profitable. It doesn't mean anything at all. It's just timing. And if we can keep cash flow as like a timing thing instead of a money thing, like a revenue thing, then we can feel a lot better about knowing that it happens all the time. I'm sure there are times where people have paused payments for 3 or 4 days or said, please hold my card, or please don't charge that yet. It happens. And so we just need to be open about it, have good communication about it, and just be honest that the ebb and flow of business means that this happens. Sometimes we have cash crunches. Sometimes somebody charges back. Somebody bounces a check. It means nothing about you. Nothing at all. You're still a great business owner. All right. The final piece of this is having a flexible growth plan. Now, why does it have to be flexible? Now more than ever, you need to have a 90-day plan. You need to have 90 days of planning. Again, this goes back to consumers wanting that stability and that reassurance that you're going to remain in business. You're going to be able to support their needs. If you can do a quick plan and you can put a post out that says, I am so excited about the next 90 days. I can't wait to reveal to you what we're launching in June. Well, if I do that back in March, people go, well, they're going to be around in June. That's pretty cool. I don't have to worry about spending my money there. I don't have to worry about investing in this product because someone's going to be there for product support. I don't have to worry about any of those things. So that is a huge thing, is to make sure you have the plan. But the plan needs to be flexible, because right now you might have to tweak or develop new products and services in order to serve customers where they are. So what's been going on over and over again may not be helpful. So another product example is maybe we need to offer a smaller size so people can still enjoy your product, but they can get something that's at a price that feels a little bit more affordable right now. So we're not going to change our pricing. We're just going to make it a smaller size. So we're still going to maintain the profit margin, but we're going to give people something at a price point that they love. So we want to respond to what the buyers need now, like the, again, person who's doing the digital marketing, changing and pivoting to doing those things, getting some feedback before launch. Ask people, just ask them, how would this feel? Does this work? What do you think of this? We just offered something called flights of coffee tastings to get people in the door in our coffee business down here in our retail store. So we asked people, I said, well, I mean, breweries do it. Wine tasters do it. We're a roastery. We roast the coffee. We should do flights and tastings. And we did about $1,100 in sales in 5 hours Saturday, because people came in, they tasted the coffee, they did the flight, people came with their friends and did all that, and then they purchased from us. Some people bought big bags, some people bought little bags, but we gave them the opportunity to do business with us their way, which was really kind of fun. We'll be repeating that. And then the last thing I want to encourage you as far as this goes is this launch it and leave it. In this market, because it is taking so much time for people to make decisions, and because people need those 22 touch points, raise your hand like I am right now if you're guilty of putting an offer out there and then yanking it in 3 weeks when you don't have a buyer. Okay, how about 10 days if you don't have a buyer? How about, right? So now we want to be on this 90-day cycle. We want to leave an offer out there for 90 days, meaning that we'll talk about it for 90 days. If we're not launching with a cart open or cart closed or something like that, whatever we do right now with the strategy, we want to leave it out there for about 90 days. Again, that consistency, that understanding that you are a stable company and you're a great bet to do business with. So that's the other thing about this new or different offer. People might need to see it 22 times. They may need to know that it's available. And if we don't get buyers immediately, stop pulling them back. Stop giving people a chance not to buy from you because they don't see it anymore. All right. So the coolest thing is there are going to be new and exciting opportunities right now in this environment. If you are watching, watch for the new ways for people to give you money, like coming to a tasting or doing done for you templates, or, offering a different size, or maybe offering a power hour. If you usually sell something that's 3 months long, maybe some people just want to spend money as a checkup for a power hour with you. Give them some new ways to continue being in your world. And here's the other thing, marketing strategies like speaking, like at the summit here, or networking needs to come back in a big way. or even trying a different social platform. Maybe it's time to get on TikTok. There are new and exciting opportunities for you. And maybe it's not TikTok, maybe it's LinkedIn. I don't know. But, maybe trying something a little bit different this time, because the opportunities are going to be there for you. So your business will thrive, and you cannot fail unless you quit. We can pivot, we can make changes, we can cut expenses, we can find new buyers. Just don't quit. And that's it. So I am open for any questions anybody might have.
Yeah, that was really neat. You said you can't fail unless you quit. And that's absolutely true, because even in the failing, you've learned something that you can do it again. Because a lot of times what happens is we as business owners, or just people in general, I did this one thing and I'm not interested in doing it again. It worked, it didn't work, whatever. And now I want to do something else. And sometimes it's in the repetitiveness of it. So I did it that one time, and let's say it did fail. Well, what did I learn? Okay, great. Let's do it again. And let's apply what we have learned from that first go around so it can get better. Listen, as we were going along, I was taking my notes. I asked you some of the questions that popped up in the chat, but in addition to that, you on it, because you do the podcast, you like boom, 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 and you was hitting all the questions. So we definitely appreciate that. If anyone has any additional questions, go ahead and drop them in the comments, because we want to make sure that we get to those. The link that's in the top of the description, you can click on that and you'll have access to the, it's just the access room, and it has all the things that you're needing. And there's an option in there for bonuses. And when you click on bonuses, you'll see Dawn's picture and her name, and you can click on any of those things. And in doing so, you'll be able to download the guide that she was, what did you call it again? I'm sorry.
It's pricing for profit.
Your pricing for profit. You'll be able to get that full breakdown, a little bit more of the breakout numbers that you're referring to in the beginning, which, yeah, it was a lot of aha moments and a lot of awakenings. We have some, this was very good, thank yous in the comments. So we appreciate it. And one thing that's important is, yeah, you would think that the thought is, oh, I'm a business owner, I already know, but then it's like, no one has shown it to you. You haven't been exposed to it, so you don't know. And myself included, we don't know. And so there's things that we don't know until someone shows us or exposes us to it. And then we're like, oh, I could do the money that way. Oh, I could just pay them. Most of my money come in the beginning of the month, so let me just pay everybody at the top of the month and be done with it. Like you have these awakenings and these awarenesses that, oh, writing a check to myself from my business account is definitely an option. And then doing that payback that way, or, just at different ways of accounting. And I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Business is not intuitive. This is why we get mentors. This is why we get support. This is why we read books, right? So nobody's like, when you get the LLC, or if you don't have, but whatever, they don't say to you, here, yea, verily, you now know everything there is to business. I mean, we still make a ton of mistakes around here. And we just, like you said, we just kind of roll with it, and we just make a different decision next time. So it is all about the learning and the dynamics of business, but doesn't it make it fun?
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember someone told me being in business for yourself is like you're skydiving out of an airplane, but as you're skydiving, you're putting together your parachute before you hit as you're falling. So we're doing this at the same time. I'm falling and putting together the parachute.
Yes.
With the goal of to get it together and on my back before I get to the bottom, right?
Yes.
So it sounds exhilarating.
Yeah, so it is exhilarating, and hopefully some of these things will help people sleep at night. Like, I know the financial piece is huge right now for a lot of people, and sometimes it just takes a little reorganization. You're not doing anything wrong. It's just, this might work better for you and serve your interests.
Yeah, absolutely. So listen, Dawn's in the group. I'm pretty sure you're here in the group. So if you have a question, you can put it in there. If you want to reach out to her directly, I'm sure she may be open to that and let you know how that works. Again, you can click that link up top in the description so you can download her freebie and her goodness that she has for us, because we want to make sure that we're giving you all the tools that you need in order to be successful in doing business and doing business online. And so this is a piece that is very important. And a lot of times we just don't know, you don't know what you don't know.
Mhm.
And so because she's here and she's available and this is what she does, and she has the receipts, she has the history to show that she has, she's tried and true. She has some experience. It's not just theory of what she's learned. Then she would definitely be an awesome asset to connect with and pull in. So I definitely appreciate you, Dawn, for coming on and being our second session leader on day one. Do you have any final words before we wrap up and take our break for the next go around?
I can just say this is an amazing summit, and the fact that it's 7 presenters, people can find 7 hours, 2 days. And I just think this is absolutely amazing. Your format on this, I'm going to tell you too, because I emailed my group and they were like, this is not overwhelming. It's not 60 speakers. It's, so thank you for putting this on and for making it really digestible so that business owners can have the support. So you guys are amazing.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. We have plans to do many more before the year is out. This is the first one that we've done online and that we've done with an array of individuals that we weren't all friends and family before we began. And so I'm thankful and I'm appreciative of everything that you guys have brought to the table, because this is how we learn and grow. This is how we expand. Sometimes we reach outside of our circles and we meet new people and they know some things that my circle didn't know, or they, and they compliment and they have a different way of explaining it or a different way of showing up. And so this is the goal and the intention is not to be overwhelming. And I wanted to make sure it wasn't like, okay, I'm glued, because I've been in those things where I really want to go to this thing and it's really, really good and it is online, but I have to be glued to my seat for 7 hours. And I'm like, I have client work that's due and I have calls and now so I wanted to kind of break it up for people who wanted to do evenings or wanted to do daytime. So you kind of have both of those. But then in addition to that, you can still catch the replays for 2 days. And if you sign up to be in VIP, click that link up top and you'll be able to get to the VIP and you'll have access to it even longer, as well as some other good things. Because Don, you have a bonus in the VIP section, right?
Yep,
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I have a course in there. So you can actually, you can actually take a course that'll walk you through financial organization, money management, a little more cash flow, talking about some of the things like protecting that financial wellness in your business. We touched on it briefly, like annual expenses. What do you do with that? Well, you don't want to have an $800 bill in February. So we're going to break it into 12 little baby payments and we're going to pay $75 a month. And by the time you need it, the cash is all there because you planned for it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know myself, I will be downloading that and getting access to it. All the freebies and the goodies and the things that you all have that the speakers have brought to the table are worth their weight in gold, right? Like they're good. And so make sure you go up top, click that link and get those. Again, if you have any questions, you can drop them down below. Any aha moments, put them there. You can also tag us at MBS, hashtag MBS on social media. And then we'll be able to post, repost, share, whatever, and we'll be able to connect with you that way. But that is it. So our next session that is coming up. Thank you so much, Don. I hope you have a great one. I'm going to screen share quickly and hopefully we'll see you in the comments on some of our other sessions.
Absolutely.